Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to Breakfast with Sergio. I'm super excited to be here with you today. And I'm here with my friend, Salvador Cicero. He's an attorney at law. And we're going to talk about how to organize your art business the right way. Well, hi, Salvador. Good to see you today. How are you?
Good morning in this beautiful cold morning in Chicago.
I know, right? And super
Yes.
happy to have you here. Thank you so much for making time in your schedule. I know in your busy Zoom schedule, probably, as you are an attorney dealing with all kinds of cases on a regular basis. But I'm also very excited that you're here, not only because you are a great attorney and you have a great information to share with our friends, but you also are an art supporter. You've been to many of my shows. You actually have collected my art as well, and that of many other artists as well that I know too. And so, you know, for that reason, it's even more of a pleasure to have you here because you can give us a good help to all the Breakfast with Sergio artists who watch it faithfully and who may have, you know, right now this issue of how should I organize my art business correctly or legally, right? Because there's also the non-legally way to do it. So, well, let's talk a little bit about, you know, how as artists should we organize our art business, right? Because that's part of a greater conversation where I have opportunity to work with many artists, as you know, too, in my coaching program. And sometimes I, you know, get to work with artists who have never taken the time to really organize their art career correctly in terms of the legal stance, and that also affects how they run, you know, their business because they cannot run contracts or agreements or all those things that, you know, just one problem rolls into the next. So maybe you help us with a good start on an artist who may want to get started on this.
Well, I think that first of all, I think I need to share with you that we are all the same. Artists, lawyers, architects, we know what we do, right? So lawyers, for example, learn all about business law, and then their firms are a mess, right? It takes time. Any business, whatever the business is, you gotta organize. So if you're in this position, don't feel bad. You're not alone. Okay.
Okay.
With artists, I think the one issue, because as you know, we do represent a few artists as well. It's always this idea that, no, I'm just a creator, right? I create and I put out. And yes, but the thing is, you actually make a living. When you make a decision to do this as a business for yourself, then you have to take the responsibility to yourself and to your family to do it properly. So that's the first step. You got to convince yourself that, yes, you are let me take an example that I'm sure everybody knows, right? Like Brito. You may or may not like Romero Brito's art, but I think that we can all agree that he's got a business model that works for him. Right. And he's got professional, of course, you know, he's at a point in time in his career where he can afford to hire people to do things for him, right? I happen to be very good friends with a former director of his gallery in Miami. And so I've seen the struggle from my friend's side, right? So everybody has that tension between the creation and the business side. So the thing is, you look at people like that and you're like, well, how did they get there? Well, you know, they hire publicists to do that, but the basis has to be there. Before we started the podcast, Sergio and I were just chatting, and we were talking about the issues that we all face when it comes to paying taxes, for example.
Right.
So let's start with a couple of things. The first thing you have to decide is, once you start selling your art, is how are you going to pay the taxes on it, right? And the first mistake people make is not create a simple corporation, right? These days, you can have a corporate, even a limited liability corporation company, right? LLCs that everybody has heard of. You can have one for $150. That's the filing fee. Right. Now, you should first talk to your accountant. You have to have an accountant. If you're going to do this, you're going to be dealing with galleries or doing your solo shows with the gallery. You need to have an idea of how this works. You can't just be going to H&R Block. And I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying you need to understand what are the consequences of somebody paying you $5,000 for a piece of art or $500 for a piece of art. Right? Because there is a portion of that. Now, if you have a corporation, the corporation can take a number of deductions and costs, and it doesn't flow straight to you. So the right off the bat, you need to have that, right? The other reason is when you start doing deals with people, It's better to have an in-between. So you create the corporation that you manage, and that allows you to have deals with galleries. Because if you, let's say that you get into a deal with a gallery, and then you have a legal problem.
Right.
They either don't pay you, or they want to give you all the tax liability, right? Or they sue you. It's better to have them sue the corporation, and if things don't work out for you, that goes bankrupt, your corporation, and the corporation goes bankrupt, not you.
So pardon me for the interrupting. So in a way, the LLC protects your personal assets, correct?
Absolutely.
To a point.
Absolutely. And there's always a tension between your protection, your assets, and what's the best way to reduce your income tax. Okay. So it's not a solve all situation with an LLC necessarily. Okay. Excuse me, but I will tell you this: you definitely need to think asset protection first and taxation second, right?
Okay.
So that's what's important. Plus, if you have a corporation, you can buy a car, you can start building your corporation, and you can do this all at the same time that you do. Now, the other thing, I think, once you have your corporation, I think the biggest mistake that I see artists make is not investing time in reviewing their contracts. Right?
Yeah.
They're like, they just go and make a deal with a gallery, and then they sign some papers, and like, well, what were the terms?
Right.
Well, I don't know. Really? You know? Well, I thought it was going to get 50-50. Yeah, but there's a clause that says that you also have to pay for all the advertising, and you have to pay for all the promotion, and then we threw a cocktail party for you. You got to pay for that. Like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's more of a mindset. I guess my biggest piece of advice for our listeners today is you need to have an entrepreneurial mindset. And I think that's something that you consistently are talking about in your podcast, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think you're totally right, because and also there's also the instances in which you do a handshake agreement with a gallery or with someone, somebody who's going to do something for you, but that handshake means absolutely nothing, in the legal scenario, right? If something were to happen, who said what? Well, I don't know. I think
there's two levels. There's two levels, right? Because there is the level of you as a business person investing the time in getting to know the people you're going to do business with, right? We, in legal terms, would call that due diligence. Who is this person? Have they always gone through with their contracts, right? Because even having it in writing doesn't guarantee much sometimes. But you should do this. This is the rule, though. Anything above $500 needs to be in writing. Any deal over $500 needs to be in writing to be enforceable. Okay?
That's great. That's great
right off the bat, you need to know that, if your intent is to sell it for $1,000 or more, it has to be in writing.
Exactly.
And of course, here's the thing where people get into trouble also. Let's say that you are sending your art somewhere else, right? Like you have a contract with a gal, you're in Chicago, and you're, selling some of your art in Miami. And then you send it out. All kinds of things can happen, right? It can burn down, or the plane can crash, or the van get lost, or somebody steals the stuff.
Right.
That's one thing. So that needs to be very clearly spelled out. Who pays for the freight, right? All of those things are very important. And if it's international, it's even more important.
Right, exactly.
As to what can come in and come out. So that is a very tricky thing sometimes, because these are complex contracts. So you need to find an attorney. Now, when it comes to finding attorneys, not every attorney is going to know how to help you. Okay. So when you talk to attorneys, you need to ask them, you have business law background, right? What kind of business background, what kind of businesses do you represent? Do you know anything about copyright law or not? Because remember, people think that attorneys do everything. We don't all do everything, right? So a firm like ours that does a lot of stuff that has to do with the music industry and painters and things like that, right? So we've developed relationships with other firms that have, I have my guy who works at a larger firm who does all of the copyright registrations and trademark.
Oh, okay.
And that's all that guy does. Right? I do the business side, I organize it, and I've learned enough to see what we need to do so that I can direct to where it needs to go. Right? We have the litigation guy that does the litigations, and then we have the guy who only does copyright. So
Right.
what you need really is a good legal advisor who can walk you through all these things and review your contracts.
Right. And because also like laws may vary from state to state, right? So it's important, like if you need a contract, particularly something complex, you don't just go to Google and see what you can find and just, use it and send it out. But always asking artists, make sure that you go with, somebody can give you legal advice where you are in the world, where you are in the state and the city, because laws can change.
Let me say something about that. And I'm going to share the trick that we use, right?
Okay.
Because I think this is important for people.
Yeah.
If you're going to, as you grow as an artist, your art is going to go everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. So your contract, you should invest in a contract that you have to give people, not wait for the gallery to give you the contract, okay? Because who do you think that contract's going to favor?
Yeah, always the one who writes it, right?
So it's always better to say, oh, I'm interested in doing this with you. Here's my contract. And then you send it to them. And that contract should be a fair contract, right? It should be a contract that protects them and protects you. Because if it's not designed that way, they're not going to want to sign that contract, right?
Right.
So it needs to be fair. And so when I design contracts, I try to make them fair. But here is the part where you definitely need to make sure you put this in a contract, which is if you live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, you better make the venue for any dispute Tulsa, Oklahoma. That way, you know that it doesn't matter where you're selling this thing. Everybody has to agree that the venue and the disputes will be in the place where you live, because you can defend it where you live. You don't have to be paying some guy in New York City to go defend a case that has a venue in New York City that was sold in California. Right.
That's a great point. I had never heard about that one before, and talked to so many also attorneys in the podcast. That is a first. That is a very interesting. So when you are reviewing a contract, even that somebody gives you, you can look for those things.
Oh, you should. That's what you're looking for, because look.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic about how the industry works, right? You go with a larger gallery, they're not going to negotiate all the points in their contract with you, right? It's kind of like take it or leave it kind of situation many times.
Right. Most
like
of the time,
you cannot, right? That you cannot negotiate. Oh, well, I only want to pay 20%. Well, everybody pays 20%. So you got, well, I wish you were 20%.
Right? From what year is that contract?
Like 50%. But excuse me. What I'm saying is that you can say, but you can also say, look, I'm not going to go fight this out over there. Or at least, well, if I get into an issue with this company that is in Florida, right, the example we use, then I know right off the bat that if I have a problem, I'm going to have to go defend this in Florida. So at the very least, your attorney needs to educate you as to what are the venues that you're going to be dealing. Another thing that people miss out in a lot of contracts these days is the arbitration clauses.
Okay. So tell me more about that one.
So there is a difference between mediation and arbitration. I'm a mediator. I'm more of a fan of a mediation, right? Which is try to get the parties to a middle ground. The arbitration is a out-of-court, basically court case that gets decided. Yeah, it's a dispute that is going to be almost as expensive as a trial. And many times, bigger companies push arbitration in their contracts because they don't have finality and they can stretch out the time, and people just don't have the money to do that.
To continue, yeah.
So it's
kind of a tactic to have you surrender. So it's going to be more expensive for me to pursue this than.
In my experience, and I'll give you an example that's of the art world. Many years ago, there was a whole analysis about how insurance companies put arbitration clauses with older clients because they wouldn't live all the way through the arbitrations.
Oh, wow.
Horribly brutal. It's brutal,
totally
right?
Crazy, yeah.
So it's better, I think, in my view, it's better to have your day in court and you either win or you don't, and you're done with the case, right? And sometimes you don't win, and that's okay. But at least you had your chance to try to prove your point. But if you have a contract, right, that's very, very important. That's why going back to what we were talking about, what you review, what exactly are the terms of what is being offered? We will advertise this for you. We will have cocktail parties for you. We will do this, and then we will charge you 50%, not 60%. So it is very important to understand what it is that the offer is and what it is that you are accepting, right? That's why the four corners are so important.
Very cool. Well, Salvador, you've been super awesome like usual. And, you have, of course, helped me out so much. And I'm sure our friends now after this conversation, if they want to know more about your legal services, where can they find you as well? How can they get in touch with you?
Well, our website is cicerolawgroup.com. And they can always shoot me an email, sal@cicerolawgroup.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Or find me on Instagram at salcicero.
Yeah, exactly. You can find him there. You can find him playing his piano too once in a while.
Playing the piano and doing some legal things. Don't judge me too harshly. It's not the legal website, right?
Yeah, he's got a disclaimer even on Instagram.
Disclaimer, that's right.
Please, if you enjoyed this episode, share it with all your friends. Salvador and I will be so excited if you do that. I'm sure you have other artist friends who may be also kind of in the same boat, kind of trying to figure things out, how to navigate the legal things. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sal. Thanks to our friends. We'll see you in the next episode. Reja, we say you goodbye.